Just one more hour until reinforcements, aka me, arrive to save the day. But until then, keep your eyes on the highway and keep on trucking with Jimmy Mack on Road Gang Radio, y'all.
Ain't that right? Because Jimmy Mac's here and he's hanging out with friends. Ain't that right?
Hanging out with friends. Phone Master Dre, of course, is a friend. Cross those T's, dot those Madisons with an I. She's out there taking care of us all, making sure that we are of quality sound this morning. Good morning to you, Madison. Good morning to you, Phone Master Dre. Good morning to Joe J., who has been there since the beginning. Our good friend Chowder. Our good friend Trucker Boson has dropped in. Bruce Almighty, good morning, hashtag RGR. Thomas Bray is all the way with Tom Bray on the highway. Retired but not forgotten. Retired but not inactive. Back in the game. Good to have you, brother. Good to have everybody out there. Here's the challenge for today. The challenge from beyond. Which, by the way, is... you should look up that story, Phone Master Dre. It is it's 4 people wrote the story. What they did was a person would write the first part of the story, next person steps in, takes the next part of the story. So it's 4 famous science fiction writers. I mean, back in the day, 4 very famous fiction sci-fi writers wrote a thing called The Challenge from Beyond. And you should give it a look and check it out. We're kind of doing that this morning. Here's the challenge this morning. Need you all to hit that like button.
Do it.
Need you all to hit that thumbs up button on the Yakking Up on YouTube. When I refresh this page, I want to see it go high in sky. Call a friend, tell a friend, television, telephone, tell us somebody. I'm going to tell Terry Taylor.
Tell him.
I'm going to tell Terry Taylor. Come on, you know this dude. He's on the road, as a matter of fact. He is the proprietor of 1313 Mockingbird Toys. You can find him on the Book of Face at 1313 Mockingbird KS. Stands for Kansas, Lawrence, that is. On the gram of Insta at 1313 Mockingbird KS. And on the Tube of You, where he yaks it up. We've got some really great content over there, by the way. Mockingbird Lane Toys on YouTube, at Mockingbird Lane Toys. Terry, welcome to the newly YouTube monetized Road Gang Radio. How you doing, man?
My man.
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be on. I'm coming back from my poor wife, who's a nurse. She rushed out of the house today at the crack of dawn and forgot her food for the day. So as the husband that worships my wife, I raced over to deliver her food so she wouldn't have to go all day without eating. So I'm just driving back from that.
By the way, I know a lot of our listeners can relate. It's really a great thing when you can actually tell people I married the best gal in the world. And I believe, Terry, I believe in my heart that if she was asked, if it was really pressed upon her, she would say, I married the best dude in Dude Town. It's great to have you, man. It is great to have you. Welcome aboard, as always. Love having you here, especially on the eve. I mean, we're really close, dude. I mean, it's almost spectacular season, dude. I know.
It's so close.
I am psyched. Claire actually hasn't told us. We have a whole bunch of 15-minute drop-ins coming next month. So Claire sent Lindsay and I a list of potential titles for the 15-minute spooktacular drop-ins across the entire month of October. So Lindsay and I are debating whether we're going to pick it or whether we're going to have Tara go on YouTube and put up a chart and say, you guys pick what the title is. Don't know what we're going to do yet. You got a lot of stuff going on, though, man. It's your favorite time of year. What's going on?
Oh, my gosh. So busy. I think Liz and I were just talking last night how we just think we overextended ourselves a bit. I mean, we think that every year, but this year definitely we're feeling, maybe it's just because we're getting a little older too, but we're just feeling the stress burn a little more than usual this year.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, it's been a stressful year for small businesses. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well, too, though. But it doesn't mean that you can't deliver on the things that your best customers and your best friends have kind of come to expect. I mean,
absolutely.
That's the other thing. I wanted to start off with a business question, but it's a fun question. So we all know that, people have no idea why Black Friday is called Black Friday. That's a lot of nonsense. That people think it's about going into the black. It's not. It's about black ice. I don't know if you know that from Philadelphia. But I was kind of curious as to whether or not October is a chance for you to clean up at the register, or if in fact it's a break-even way of engaging in a giant marketing campaign to keep people coming all year long. Am I making sense from a small business perspective?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. It really depends, much like things with retail, it really depends on how the wind's blowing. It's some years it is absolutely like a better than Christmas for us. Even though we're not carrying it, we carry spooktacular things all year round at our store. But I think when people see October and they see the changing leaves and the feeling in the air, it makes them want to come in here and spend buy more spooky things than maybe other times of the year. But sometimes it's better than Christmas for us, and then sometimes it's kind of like what you said. It's like a one giant advertising campaign to keep people coming back for more all year round. This year, I don't think we're going to have the financial success of previous years. I can just kind of see the writing on the wall with just just all the fun stuff that's going on economically in the country currently. But it doesn't stop us from trying to provide the best customer experience that we can. And also, I mean, right now I think we all just need a lot of fun. And that's what this store is all about, is providing fun to people. So we've been kind of just going above and beyond this year to really try and make sure people have a really good October and Halloween season.
Yeah, and I mean, and by the way, I couldn't agree with that sentiment more. The idea that sometimes it's okay to kind of go, absolutely to the wall with everything, and that maybe you come out a little bit ahead, maybe you break even, but it's a great reminder to remind your best customers and potentially new customers that this is the kind of customer service you can expect from us on a regular basis. That this is just simply, it's us on steroids. It's us on steroids.
Yeah, no. Well, and even, let's face it, even when times are tough, whether you're talking to your best friend or going into your favorite store, it doesn't help the mood, or it doesn't help things if, a customer comes in the store and is like, how's it going? Because every day people come in like, how's it going? And if you're like, well, actually we're being murdered by the tariffs and it's just really tough right now. And
people don't want to hear that.
No. Why would you want to go back to be like, God, I don't want to go back in there after being a downer, And so we just try. But it's true, it's kind of like you have that friend that you call and it's like, hey, Jason, how's it going? Thanks for noticing me.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't make you want to call Jason very much, regardless if you really care about him or not. So we try and just keep it pretty uplifting in here, regardless of what's going on in the behind the scenes climate, because this is also a big release for me and Liz as well, as even though we're the owners and we deal with the stress, it's a big social thing for us. It's a big thing where we get to see people every day that we love, that we don't get to see on another regular basis. Even if so many of our relationships with our customers, we only see them in store, but many, many, many of them I would consider close friends, even though we don't maybe call each other on the horn outside of the store. But you gain such a rapport with everyone that comes in, and we truly, we've had a couple customers pass that we've known through the years, and we have a memorial wall in our store, which is kind of sad in its own respect that we've been around long enough to have some customers pass. But yeah, we have couple close customers. We've had plaques made and we've mounted them up with something that is like a favorite genre or favorite toy of theirs. So we want people to come in here and feel happy, not feel like like it's a bummer.
And by the way, two things I want to point out to our friends out there as well. The first of which is that this show opened up, the first hour of the show before you joined us, we had 3 of our regular callers. Our good friend Chowder, our good friend Packrat, and our good friend Showtime, and they all called in. And they don't want to call this show and have me be like, "How's it going?" You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear that nonsense. They want to get in there. Yeah. They want to mix it up. They want to find out what's going on and get the good news, as it were. The other thing is, I want to point out to our friends, you are coming back home, right? Or have you gotten Lizard food yet?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm back in the store currently now.
So you were driving back home because you were driving food to Liz because she is on the gig right now. This is what's important to remember, that being at 1313 Mockingbird Toys is not just a small business, but it's a respite. It's an island that you get to go to when you're not actually serving people as essentially a first responder. I mean, that's a big thing. That's a big deal. That it's like this needs to be a place where you actually create a space of joy, not just for other people but for yourself. So let's talk about that joy. And by the way, Terry, the notes you sent me are so perfect for our friends out there. This is a great blueprint for how to get in the mood in the personal and the private, and then expand it to the public. I do the same kind of thing too. So you're going to give me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 movies you watch every year, guaranteed. And I want you to tell people, and by the way, I can see totally how they get you in the mood. Let people know what you're watching, what you and Liz are going to dig into.
Well, I know people will probably laugh considering I'm a 52-year-old adult male, but every year we have to watch It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. 100%. One of my favorite Halloween festive October watches in the entire, I've been watching it. I can't remember a time in my life that I haven't watched it. And we watch it on VHS. I still have a TV VHS DVD combo, and you have to watch it on VHS. That's how I've always watched it. I have to watch it on VHS. It just adds that little extra oomph to the season, the hissing of the tape. I've had to rebuy the tape a few times because ours has gotten so bad it's been unwatchable. But we usually start with that, which, to be very honest, we've already watched since we've been getting ready for our Halloween pop-up building. We just needed a little extra Halloween spirit to get our motors going a little bit, and then we kind of dive into some of our favorite kind of independent horror movies to really get us in the mood. And we haven't watched these yet, but we haven't hit October yet. So there's a movie called May that is one of our ultimate favorite horror movies that my wife and I always bond on. And most people, when I say May, they don't. It's not a common movie people are into, but essentially it's about a girl who's kind of a social misfit who kind of actually looks like my wife, who becomes kind of overly obsessed with essentially getting a partner. And she figures out that with each person that she kind of like goes on a date with, she's like, she doesn't like the whole, but she likes the parts of each person. So,
by the way, I've seen it. You can just leave it right there. Leave it right there. That's a great preview. That's a great preview.
It's kind of a funny modern day Frankenstein in a way. Is the only way I can describe it. And another movie we have that's a great kind of ghost psychological thriller is called Session 9. And
so good. Highly recommend.
I don't know if I've told this story on the show before, but when I was a touring musician in it was late 90s, early 2000s, the movie is based on an asylum in Danvers, Massachusetts. That was the place where they perfected the prefrontal lobotomy, hydrotherapy. There was a lot of like kind of archaic things that they started at this asylum as a way to help people, but eventually the asylum was almost like a horror movie in a way, where the asylum eventually kind of
unravels
down a dark road.
It unravels.
Yeah, it went down.
It unravels.
Yeah, it went down a dark road. But I've been obsessed with this asylum for years and years and years. And this movie, essentially the township of Danvers, Massachusetts, and this is reality, tried to convert the building into essentially like their city hall or some administrative buildings for the city. And while the construction crew was doing this, one of the team members ended up kind of psychologically breaking and killing his wife and kids at home, but still returning to work like nothing happened.
Oh, it's creepy stuff, man.
Yeah. So Session 9 is loosely based on that history and that story. And it's actually the only movie that ever filmed inside the asylum. So when we were on tour, we played Boston, and then Boston's essentially Danvers is almost like a suburb of Danvers. Danvers is almost a suburb of Boston. So we got them playing a gig. We were looking for a place to stay, and we ended up finding some people to stay with, but we got to their house and we realized, oh man, these guys are like partying, and none of us were like drinkers or anything. We're like, oh. And a couple of the guys were like, hey Terry, aren't you always talking about that asylum that's around here? Why don't we just go see this asylum and then get a hotel room? And I was like, I like what you're thinking. So we go and we drive to Danvers. We find where the asylum's at, and it's like, it's got like its own windy road that goes up to the asylum, and it also has a graveyard that's a precursor to the building, which with unmarked graves for all the patients through the years, which was still there at the time. It's not there anymore. So we parked about a mile away from the asylum. There was 11 of us because there was 2 bands. We got out and we started sneaking up the road in the dark. And by this time, it's like 2 a.m. We're sneaking up and like we're walking through this unmarked graveyard, and like a couple of the guys actually like just freak out and run back to the van. So we're trucking up, and we finally make it to. And I have a point and click camera at the time because it was before like cell phones and cell phone cameras and stuff. So I'm like pointing and clicking, and I'm like, oh my God, trying to see if I can get some pictures in the dead of night. And as we get to the outskirts of this mammoth of a building, after creepily sneaking through the yard, all of a sudden all these lights just turn on, like boom, 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 boom. And it was like a movie, like out of the woods, guys come out with actual weapons and night vision goggles. And they're like, like literally put your hands up. So they escort us down to the road where the sheriff is waiting. And apparently after this movie came out, Session 9, apparently people like us were sneaking onto the premises, but like causing damage. So the city had to hire on-site security, 24-hour surveillance. And it was literally like Call of Duty. Like these guys took their job seriously. So they'd been watching us the whole time. We did 0 damage. We respected the area. We were just there to look and take some pictures, but I guess people have been squatting in there and lighting fires and just crazy stuff. So they get us down to the road where the sheriff's waiting for us. There's like 5 cop cars. And the sheriff at the time was this really like almost like Southern kind of guy. I don't know how to describe him, but
rural is a good way. He's a rural sheriff. Yeah.
Exactly. Rural. And he's like, and so everyone kind of pushed me to the forefront to deal with it. They're like, hey, this is your deal. And I was like, oh, thanks. And he's like, all right, you guys are on here illegally and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and I was like, I'm so sorry. We're from South Dakota. We saw this movie, even though I was very familiar with the asylum long before that, but I was using the movie kind of as a, I was like, we're just coming to take some pictures. And the guy looks at me and goes, son, what do you got against the asylum anyway? And I was like, nothing. I was like, I just saw this movie, and it was just a really weird, and it's, of all the things he said to me, that was the one thing that stuck because it was such a weird way he phrased it. And so I had this point and click camera, and he's like, we know you took pictures because they were watching us on night vision goggles. And he's trying to take this camera out of my hand. He's like, we have to confiscate the camera. And I was like Harlem Globetrottering it around my waist and under my legs. I'm in no way exaggerating. Like he was literally trying to grab it. And I was like, nope, boop, boop, boop. But so somehow I ended up being able to keep the camera. But they did take us downtown, and they took all of our license, copy of all of our license and everything, and banned all of us from ever entering the township of Danvers, Massachusetts again.
By the way, I think Danvers is actually inside the Bridgewater Triangle. I think it actually is part of what they call the Bridgewater Triangle, or one of the kind of mysterious triangles that actually exist in Massachusetts and in New England, by the way. I will tell you this, by the way. I can tell you what you got against the asylum. I know where the question comes from, knowing a little bit about law enforcement. I think he was lumping you in under everybody else, the kind of people who start fires there, the kind of people who deface stuff, that you basically fell under just a nasty blanket, is my guess. Sure. If I was guessing. Yeah. And the thing is, the other problem is, I tell people about law enforcement all the time, Terry, you literally, and you got lucky. Here's how you got lucky, because what you don't want to be is the last nerve that a rural sheriff runs
yeah.
into, where you become every single person that's ever gotten away. That's
Yes.
like a bad scene, a bad scene. So I'm very, very relieved for you. That's a great story, by the way.
And I'm sorry that was such a long story,
That's
but I
great.
can't go Halloween time without talking about it.
I do have a little piece of information for you, something very, very nice I wanted to share with you. You know, people, they talk on the chat all the time. They're throwing kind of comments out there all the time. And I want to encourage you guys, if you have questions for Terry about his store, anything like that, don't be afraid to kind of just drop them in on the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Tom Bray, who just retired, used to do a regular segment on our show. He writes, in my community, the hardware store is my happy place, just like 1313 would be if I, in fact, lived in Kansas. Wanted to share that with you, which is
That's
really
awesome.
nice thing. We got one more movie to talk about before we kind of pivot, as Lindsay would say, pivot, into what the other kind of groovy stuff going on. Tell us a little bit about Ginger Snaps.
Oh, that is another favorite of my wife and I. That's essentially about two sisters that are outcasts in their community, and one gets bit by a werewolf, and it kind of like it's like this teen werewolf movie, but also they connect it to the girl's first time having her monthly womanhood,
Right.
and they correlate menstruation with the turning into a werewolf, and it's a very interesting concept on how they do it, but it's just turned into one of those movies. It's actually a trilogy: Ginger Snaps, Ginger Snaps 2, and then Ginger Snaps Back. And it's one of my favorite movie franchises that I think nobody really knows about. But it's another one of those. And the werewolves are my favorite monster, so it appeals to me in a bunch of different a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, it's really a fun film, and I'm recommending it to everybody out there. If you always find, like, on what culture horror, a lot of top 10 lists, you'll often find these lists of like top 10 horror movies you have not seen, and it often ends up on those lists. It's ending up on those lists so much that it may actually get replaced at some point, because a lot of people are now getting kind of turned on to it. I can tell you really quickly that 2 John Carpenter films are on my list every Halloween, and they are Halloween and The Thing, are just kind of return or kind of return go-to for me. There is and I can't remember the title now. I always forget it. There is a found footage horror film that's out of Britain about an ex-bourbon neighborhood where there is a coven of witches slowly but surely closing in on a young female filmmaker and her friend. I always blank on the title, and I watch it every year. I have it in my Prime queue, which is crazy as well too. A lot of stuff to talk about this morning, though, because we're talking about the goings and doings at 1313 Mockingbird Toys. You have a Halloween contest, do you not?
We've been doing this the 8 years we've been around. We do a Halloween contest every year. We do it the last Saturday before Halloween, so people can kind of like preview or test their contest or test their costume before Halloween. But this year, since Halloween's landing on a Friday, we're just doing it on Halloween, which, because Halloween doesn't land on a weekend too many times, so we figured this way people can come into the store. We take their picture, and we generally have about 400 entries a year. So people stop and we take a picture, and then Liz and I spend the next week narrowing it down to about 5, which, let me tell you, is super tough. It used to be 3, and every year we're like, it can't be 3. We just, even doing 5 is, with how many entries we get, and every year everyone ups the ante. So then we narrow it down to 5, and then we let just because we also have a personal connection to a lot of our customers, so it's kind of hard for us to separate that from the
judging,
the costume, because like there might be a costume that is maybe a hair inferior to some other costumes, but we love the people in the costume so much, it's hard for us to be
objective.
Objective. So we'll pick 5, and then we let the internet decide. Then we let it run for a week, and we let the internet decide. And usually who we think's going to win wins. But the very, very first year we ever did it, 8 years ago, an 11-year-old was dressed up as Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, with the hanger, with the lighter, with a piece, with a head plate that had flesh that could come off when he scraped it, and he won by overwhelming force the first year. We're talking like he got 20 times the vote out of everyone else. It was fantastic. Last year we had someone go as the singer of a band called Guar, and he nailed the costume, even with the...
Terry,
what's that?
I actually, at the University of Georgia back in the 80s, I went and saw Guar in concert live, and let me tell you something. I was there covering it as a critic for the Red and Black newspaper. My friend Peter Frey, who ended up becoming a photojournalist and did some work with me later on in some really sketchy situations. He and I were at the front row of that, and they brought out a giant Santa paper mache monster that actually spit smoke out of its mouth. It was a CO2 tank, and it ended up oxygen depleting the entire front row of the Gore concert, and people were passing out left and right.
Oh my God!
Pete Gore, man, and they actually attacked a Santa on stage with axes for their Christmas show to give people a sense of what Gore is all about. Terry, we're going to run out of time here, so I want to make sure we cover some other stuff really quickly because there's so much to kind of talk about here. Terry Taylor joins us of 1313 Mockingbird Toys, as he is off to do once a month, and I can't wait to talk to him next month when all of this starts to come to fruition. Really quickly, there's an annual zombie walk. I want you to tell people about that quickly before the segment ends.
Oh, sure. This is our 18th year doing a zombie walk in downtown Lawrence, Kansas. This year, it's always on essentially the third Thursday of October. So this year it's October 16th. Essentially, everyone just gathers at South Park in Lawrence, which is right down the street from our store, and does generally 1,000 to 1,200 people every year. Everyone gathers. Liz and I man the blood booths, so anyone that wants to come, and all of it's a benefit for the Humane Society. So we take donations. Any money raised everything goes to Humane Society, and we do a blood bath where people can come and get either drizzled with blood or splashed with blood for a donation, also to go to the Humane Society. And then at dusk, the hordes just walk down one side of downtown Lawrence and back down the other. Last year, he's a very, very big rapper from Kansas City called Tech Nine. He showed up in a House of 1,000 Corpses costume, and he led the horde for us. So he was the first zombie and led everyone down, and it was a very big treat and a big deal because he is a humongous artist. For him to show up and show the support for the event like that.
1313 mockingbirdtoys.com. And by the way, I've got my eye on the Venture Brothers Mrs. the Monarch bobblehead Biff Bang Pow figure.
I just added those.
Can't wait to dig into one of those. By the way, Terry, don't be surprised if you get a phone call from me in the next week or so about maybe a surprise visit to the store for the spooky season. I'm actually going to be in Kansas City towards the end of the month. So
awesome.
We will see how it goes. Thank you, my brother. Good talking to you.
All right. Thanks as always, guys.